Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, January 25th, 2020. This is a municipal caucus of the city of Jersey City. In effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities, the city of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed non-essential services as of March 16th, 2020 until further notice. As a result, this council caucus will be held virtually with public access as a video conference. Okay, in order to start this meeting, we had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my computer, which I cannot see now, okay, is 4:04 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh. Not here yet. Councilperson Solomon, I don't think he'll be here. He will if he can, but he'll be late. Councilperson Robinson.
Not
Here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there he is. Councilperson Lavarro.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera. Here. And Council President Waterman.
Here.
We have 7 members in attendance at 4:04 p.m. The agenda of this meeting was disseminated on Thursday, January 21st, 2021 at 4:05 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, and the local newspapers, and it was also published on the Jersey City's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Okay. Council President, would you like me to take it from the top?
Yes, please do.
Alrighty. Very good. So if any council members show up, just please send me a text to let me know that you arrived and the time that you arrived. That would be great. Or I can just use your text time. That would be sufficient as well. Okay, moving on. Our first item 3.1, City Ordinance 21-005, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of Jersey City adopting an amendment to Chapter 345 regarding stormwater control.
All right. Good evening, Council. Lindsay Sigmund here from the Division of City Planning. I'm going to share my screen and just provide a quick overview of the proposed amendments to the city's stormwater control ordinance. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so just some quick background. The state, so the Department of Environmental Protection, NJDEP, revised their stormwater rules last March of 2020, which will become operative March 2021, so in just about a month, meaning all municipalities in New Jersey are required to update their ordinance prior to this March 2021 date in order to be in compliance with these rules. Jersey City's stormwater ordinance was last updated back in 2008. So in addition to revising our ordinance to comply with the state rules, we're making additional changes to capture the unique aspects of development in Jersey City when compared to more suburban areas of the state, which these regulations are typically written for. And some additional background, this was approved by the planning board or recommended to council by the planning board back in November. So quick overview, just setting the stage, stormwater issues in Jersey City. I'm going to briefly go over the DEP rules, what the proposed updates are, and next steps. So stormwater issues can be attributed to a number of things, but one condition that's unique to environments like Jersey City is the amount of impervious cover. 53% of Jersey City is impervious. So these surfaces are streets, sidewalks, parking lots, and buildings, and they contribute to increased stormwater runoff and warmer summers, amongst other issues. On top of that, we have a combined sewer system that's in need of upgrades, meaning whenever there's a heavy rainfall event and the system reaches capacity, raw sewage and stormwater combine and overflow into the Hudson and Hackensack River. And not only do overflow events occur, but localized flooding occurs, as you can see in this picture here. And due to changing climate, rainfall events will become more severe. There are many strategies to mitigate these issues, but requiring on-site detention of stormwater for new development helps alleviate these issues in Jersey City. This slide is just showing the two major types of stormwater management. We have green infrastructure best management practices. Those are those top 2 photos there. Those are examples outside of City Hall. This stormwater management practice uses the natural cycle to capture and filter and reuse stormwater. And below that is just like a very engineering drawing of a gray infrastructure, which is a practice that involves human engineered solutions that often involve concrete and steel. And this practice is what's currently required by the state and what's currently outlined in the city's stormwater ordinance. So this slide is just outlining what the proposed changes are per the updated state rule. Currently, on-site stormwater detention is required for projects in Jersey City that meet the definition of major development. However, like I stated, the state adopted these new rules. So again, this slide is just outlining those changes, and I'm going to go into it just a little bit more detail briefly. So how does this impact Jersey City? Our current ordinance was adopted in 2008. So currently, new developments must divert stormwater runoff to a detention system. And the threshold is any project that adds or replaces a 1/4 acre of impervious cover. So that's around 10,000 square feet. And currently, green infrastructure is not explicitly required. The language reads that they must consider it, so it's not explicit. This updated ordinance that's before you all this evening incorporates the new DEP rules that require green infrastructure. So this new ordinance would require green infrastructure in conformance with the state's rules. We're also lowering the requirement threshold from a 1/4 acre to 5,000 square feet. So that'll increase the number of projects that must detain stormwater on site. Just to get into a little more detail, like I said, the current threshold is a 1/4 acre. So these projects must detain stormwater on site and are subject to JCMUA review. The new definition for major development in Jersey City are projects that add or replace 5,000 square feet of impervious cover. We also added a definition for minor development, which is any project that adds or replaces between 1,000 and 5,000 square feet of impervious cover. Projects that don't come before planning or zoning board are not subject to this ordinance. So it's not meant to target as of right 1 or 2 family homes, just anything that comes before a board. Minor developments are not subject to the same requirements as major development. There is this new section in the ordinance that sets that requirement. So that's any project must retain 0.6 gallons of stormwater or 1 inch of rainfall for every square foot of impervious cover. And those numbers we worked with JCMUA on to get to a point where it'd be useful, but wouldn't be extremely limiting for the developer. Another way to think about this is if a project proposes additional landscaping, permeable pavers, and things like that, this requirement may not even be triggered. So it's also an incentive to decrease paved areas associated with the project. Summarize, we are required by state law to implement these green infrastructure requirements for major development. What we are proposing in addition is a more stringent definition of major development, plus this new minor development definition to get some more green infrastructure with projects. And it's important for Jersey City to go beyond the minimum requirement because these standards provided by the state are not unique to an urban environment. They're written for areas with lower density and lower average lot coverage. Plus, our aging water infrastructure makes Jersey City more vulnerable to flooding and other infrastructure issues. In addition, older regulations don't take climate change into account, so it's important that we go above the minimum standards to make our ordinance unique to Jersey City. And like I mentioned earlier, our ordinance would go into effect March 2nd, 2021, or earlier, whenever Hudson County Planning issues a letter. And these are just some of the resources that were cited throughout. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I can go back to that. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions, anyone? Okay, thank you. Thank you,
All
Lindsay.
right. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
No problem.
Okay, next item, item 3.2, ordinance 21-006, an ordinance supplementing chapter 332, vehicles and traffic, article 3, parking, standing and stopping, amending section 332-22 No parking at any time at 65 Bay Street and 88 Morgan Street. Any questions or comments?
Question.
Yep.
So this, can someone explain the need for this change? We're removing parking, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain the rationale or justification for this?
Certainly. These parking spaces, the removal of these parking spaces are in front of 2 residential buildings, and they will be used to provide a loading area for the residents of these particular buildings. I believe Councilman Solomon has been involved in the creation of this ordinance.
How much parking space is being eliminated?
I believe it's 2 parking spaces, but I can verify to that.
Are those metered parking spots?
I do not believe so, but I can double check on that.
Please. Okay, no further questions.
Are there any other questions from any council members? Okay, hearing none, moving on to the next item. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 21-007, an ordinance amending Ordinance 20-113, supplementing Chapter 175, Food Handling Establishments, regulating the fees charged to restaurants by third-party takeout and delivery service applications and internet website sites during such times when restrictions upon such fees imposed by the state law are suspended. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? I believe Councilperson Solomon, this is an amendment to Councilperson Solomon's ordinance that was adopted on January 4th. Okay. Alrighty, hearing none, moving on to our second reading ordinances. The first ordinance is item 4.1, City Ordinance 21-001, an ordinance amending Chapter 304, Taxation, to authorize a transfer tax on medical cannabis dispensed by a dispensary as authorized by J. Klein Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act, NJSA 24:6I-1 exec. Any questions or comments on this ordinance, second reading ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Next item, item 4.2, City Ordinance 21-002, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 53, Personnel, 53-11 of the Jersey City Municipal Code. Any questions or comments on the second reading ordinance?
I'll just make a comment, which is that I think I'd ask the entire council to oppose these amendments. The rationale for trying to be competitive and making sure this is not the time for this ordinance it completely sends the wrong message. We've literally laid people off in Jersey City citing COVID. We know that the economic impacts, and while we're still waiting, maybe if the federal government finally passes a bigger relief package and that the local government aid should come to provide relief. Right now, trying to provide additional raises to directors and political appointees, essentially, completely sends the wrong message to Jersey City residents in a time of crisis. So I urge everybody to vote no on this.
Any other council members looking to comment or have any questions on this ordinance?
This doesn't give the raise, it just lifts the cap, correct?
I believe what it actually does, it removes the salary range and puts the directors in competition or within the range of what Newark has. And Melissa, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
You are correct, Sean.
Okay, all right.
But it doesn't, from what I understand, and Melissa, you can correct me if I'm wrong too, it doesn't necessarily grant a raise for every director.
Correct.
Yeah, there's nothing in here that compels a salary increase for those directors.
That is correct, and it just gives the freedom to the administration to give raises and to go beyond the current limits that are currently imposed in that regard. So if you think that the raises aren't coming as a result of that, then again, there's like a bridge to buy or something like that, I think, right out there. So
Well, we
you
would
could
do that
try to
the-
sell that to the Jersey City public, but we've already seen what's the public's already seen what's coming down the pike with 9% water and sewer rate increases, raises for all the employees at the MUA, a solid waste collection fee, increases in the trash contract and everything else. I mean, completely sends the wrong message.
But any raises, are they determined during the budget process, or what would be the process if people were to get raises, and would we have an open debate about it before the city council, before any director gets a raise? Is that correct, or I just want to know?
100% not correct.
Okay.
It is done at the discretion of the administration with no input from the city council, as it currently is today, with or without this ordinance. So if you changed it and put that in there, then maybe that would make it more palatable, possibly. But it's completely at their discretion with no access to performance evaluations. Presumably these are based on performance evaluations and so forth, with none of that information being provided to the city council, even in a privileged and confidential nature.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council person have any questions or comments on this item? Okay, hearing none. Just for the record, Councilperson Soleil is marked present at 4:07 p.m. So we currently have 8 council members in attendance. Next item is item 4.3, City Ordinance 21-003, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332-9, Stop Intersections for new multi-way stops at various locations in Ward E. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay. Hearing none, on to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 21-004, an ordinance adopting amendments to the Water Street redevelopment plan regarding property located at Block 20701, lots 4 and 5, and Block 20704, lots 1 and 2. Any questions or comments on this item?
I have plenty of questions and plenty of remaining comments. I understand that planning is not here today to answer those questions. And actually, I'll put on the record that I did email those questions just today. I'd requested that representatives from planning as well as Corp Council be in attendance for this. Why I would think that nobody thought that it was necessary to be here, knowing that some of the questions and issues that were raised at the last caucus.
Councilman,
Somebody's here.
yes, that's correct. I'm here.
Oh, great.
Director's here.
I appreciate that, Tanya. Thank you so much. Actually, I was, you can sense I was frustrated by that, but I'm glad you're here. So thank you so much. I don't know if you saw the questions. I did send it to Matt, but I just like to go through that with you if I may.
Yep.
So the first question I asked was about the financial analysis. I raised this at the last caucus. Matt suggested that that they had not done a financial analysis on this, and that suggested at the time that they could begin to work one up. I guess I assumed from the conversation that we had that one was being worked up, but it's my understanding that one is not. And can you just, for the record, let me tell the public what your position is, or what planning's position is on a financial analysis?
Sure. So financial analysis, at least when we were doing it with NW, which is when we did this, as you know, we switched contracts. We have a different financial firm that does our financial analysis now, the Auto Group. We don't contract with NW. I'm not sure if the city council does or the administration, but we would have to get special approval for asking NW to go ahead and do a financial analysis. And when usually we ask for that, we also have to give a justification. And because it's simply really just units being put onto another building, there really wasn't enough onus or justification or reason to then go ahead and pay to have NW do a report. I believe that the developer also submitted some numbers as a part, and I think we submitted it as a part of our exhibits in the ordinance.
Yes, he submitted something that from the attorney, Jim McCann, that suggested there was something in the realm of $3 million as kind of a give back around that, plus some additional savings, presumably for the city as a result of that.
Yeah, we have to get approval to usually, when we were doing NW, the ask does not really usually start from us. We have to get approval to do so. And because the change is really not drastic and it seemed to be very simple, black and white, it didn't seem like there was a reason to do it or enough justification to pay for it to be done.
Understood. So my second question, in no particular order here, is that I'm trying to get clarification on what phase of the development this project really is in. I've read through the documents, including the planning board resolutions. It references phase, which I'm assuming phase 1 is the Agnes building in the redevelopment area, and then phase 2 and 3 is referenced in there. But then there's talk of phase 1.1 and phase 1.2 as well. Could I get clarification on what phase of the development we're in currently for this redevelopment area, and then the particular parcels that are involved in this project, specifically block 20704, lots 1 and 2, which phase of the development is that part of?
So unfortunately, I don't have enough knowledge to answer that question. I know initially that I believe I only remember 3 phases. That was when I was a reviewing planner and doing this. So since then, I really haven't been keeping up to know if this amendment changes the phases or not. I do know that phase 1, I believe, is complete though.
Okay, could I get clarification on that before Wednesday?
Yeah, no, I can absolutely do that. Is email acceptable?
Yes, thank you.
Council President, it's Jim McCann. I'm here on behalf of the developer. If I can help the councilman with some of these questions, possibly.
Okay, go ahead,
All right.
Jim.
Councilman Lavoro, it is a 3-phase project. Phase 1 was separated into phase 1A and phase 1B because
Can I interject just very quickly so I'm on the same page with you?
Sure.
1A and 1B, because I'm looking at the planning resolutions and it refers to 1.1 and 1.2. Are those the same
I'm sorry.
references?
It is that. It is 1.1 and 1.2. That is a building on Clark Avenue. It was built, the building itself is one building. It was built in 2 phases because it's a new market down there and it's a little hard to get construction financing. So we got construction financing to build half the building, and then we got construction financing to build the second part of the building. It is all part of phase 1, and it is not complete yet, but it is well under construction. It's probably 60 or 70% complete at this time, the entire phase 1, which would be 1.1 and 1.2. Now, phase 2 of the project is located at block 2074, lot 2, I believe. It's the big lot directly across from the extension of Yale Avenue that the developer is also building as part of this project. That unit has preliminary approval, but it doesn't have final approval. And then the lot directly across from the garden center is the final phase of the project. That lot also has preliminary approval, but not final approval. Altogether, the project is 621 units. And with accompanying ground floor retail and parking.
And that final phase is phase 3?
Yes, sir.
And so lot 2 of block 20704 is part of phase 1, phase 2 rather, lot number 2. And are you saying block 20704 is lot 1 is phase 3?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm on the same page with you. Okay. All right. Let me just make sure I covered that question completely. Okay. Are there any other parcels involved in the redevelopment of this of your client?
Only lot 3.01, which is an extension of Yale that connects Yale Avenue to Clark, and then also it will connect Yale Avenue to Claremont. All of that road infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, sidewalks, all of that is being constructed as part of this project. And that too is, I believe, substantially constructed at this point.
Okay. And so when we look at transferring the FAR from block 20701, lots 4 and 5, and transferring it to block 20704, lots 1 and 2, that's transferring it from the vegetable and farm market area to phase 2 and phase 3 of the project. Is that correct?
Yes, the floor area, yes. It's not
Yes.
FAR, it's floor area, but yes, correct.
Okay. So what's the current floor area for phase 2 and phase 3 as currently prior to the amendment of this redevelopment plan?
I don't have that information off the top of my head.
Oh, boy. Can I get that, Tanya?
I can get it. There's approved plans.
Yeah, you can send it to him?
Yes, of course.
Okay, he'll send it to you, Councilman.
Yeah. And then my follow-up question to that is, what, if this amendment is approved, then what is the FAR for those two blocks, for those two lots of block 20704? What's the floor area?
Well, all that it would do is transfer the 93,000 square feet of floor area from lot 4 and lot 5 over to lot 1 and lot 2. So it would be an additional 93,000 square feet.
On top of whatever's there right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then the answer to that question is the important question there. Now, given that, then given you have preliminary site plan approvals, then are you going to be, I'm assuming you'll be seeking new site plan approvals should this amendment be approved?
Eventually, yes. In order to build anything other than what we have preliminary approval for, we'd have to go back and get an amended final approval, yes.
Okay. Now going back to Tanya and Jim, if whoever wants to chime in on this, I guess, but there was a planning board resolution in July 2020. I did read through that, but it's could someone just kind of explain to me what was being done with that, accomplished with that planning board resolution in 2020 of July this year?
Sure, that affected only the only phase 1, which is 1.1 and 1.2, and effectively what happens when you get a final site plan approval, that's a document that's an approval from the planning board. Then you have to go to the construction phase. So lots of times there are changes to a building that have to be made in order to comply with life safety issues, different construction requirements for the BOCA code, different policies or procedures that Ray Meyer's office follows.
I'm going to interrupt you, Jim, just because you said it's applicable to phase 1, not to phase 2 or 3.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's okay then. That doesn't really have an application to this amendment then.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, does not. Yes, it only affected phase 1. Does not affect phase 2 or phase 3. Correct.
Great.
Okay.
Then I did ask if there was a redevelopment agreement with the city. Currently, does your client have it in particular for this development for phase 1, 2, or 3?
The client does not, because one was not required for this project. However, part of this amendment will require the developer to enter into a redevelopment agreement for this.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's my understanding that the lot 5 was sold for $200,000, was purchased for $200,000. The assessed value, according to Jersey City's records, is around $150,800 or something like that. I forget exactly, $152,000. And that lot 4 is under contract, you suggested, and that the assessed value is $982,100. Can you tell me what the value of the under contract, what the agreed upon purchase price is at this point?
$1,250,000 for lot 4, and you're correct about lot 5. It was $200,000.
Okay. And just so I understand for my own edification, given the disparity in the price between lot 4 and 5, can maybe planning opine on that as to why one is so much more valuable than the other?
I can, because I was involved in the transaction. I mean, the obvious reason is that, one, it's way smaller. It's 1/3 of the size, so that would be the first reason. The second reason is not developed. It has some asphalt on it, but there's not really nothing there. It's vacant land for the most part. While the garden center is an ongoing business, so Ed Tolosa values it as such. Okay. That's the reason why it has, I believe it's assessed at $985,000, something like Correct. That. That's why, that's the disparity. One, it's a much bigger lot. Two, it has an ongoing business on it.
Okay.
And then my question to planning is about the amendment itself in terms of transferring the FAR from this one block to another. We are under, the developer here has acquired the property as of October 2020, lot number 5, and is still under contract for lot number 4. So prior to these amendments being proposed and being petitioned for, they did not have any particular rights to the to the FAR, to the floor area that is part of block 20701. And so we're deeming it appropriate to grant them this, to allow for them to transfer this floor area from one property to another. And I guess I would ask, like, on what basis is that, like, I mean, it's seen as a bonus, and correct me if my understanding of this is incorrect at this point, but it's seen as a bonus because we're going to be getting the land back for $10, and the cost of the land acquisition, we'll purchase it for $10 from the developer. The cost of the land acquisition and other related costs, according to the developer's calculations, approaches $3 million plus, and so we find that an appropriate exchange for the transfer of that, because and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the transferring of floor area is not they're not entitled to this as of right. So we are essentially voluntarily engaging in this this transaction, and the transaction is essentially for the land and the $3 million costs and savings that we will see for the expansion of the state highway, and not having to go through the rigmarole of eminent domain and the taking of the property. And in exchange, we're giving them they're allowing for the transfer of 93,000 square feet of floor area. Is that accurate?
So I can't speak to the prices or the numbers. Until 10 minutes ago, I didn't know anything about land prices for the site. But I can tell you that it's actually fairly a common planning thing to say, if you need to basically make something a little bit more efficient, and you need to make something smaller, you'll take something from here and put it on there so you can get more space, more green space, more open space. In fact, it's a really actually popular planning idea that you put density in one place so you can have more open space. But that being said, yeah, it makes a lot of sense planning wise to take the exact thing that you have here and move it here in order to expand not just 440, but also to deal with the fact that when the setback law was put into place, the ordinance to create the setback for 440, it didn't even take into consideration that the farmers market had zoning on it. So basically that setback, we use this word I try not to use this word lightly, was like pretty much kind of like a taking in some regard, because it didn't really compensate that owner, the farmer's market, from being able to develop his site. So yeah, planning wise, this actually makes a lot of sense. Pretty clear, even exchange for, meeting the larger goals, which are of course the expansion of 440.
So you say it's
And keeping us out of a lawsuit.
keeping us out of a lawsuit. Well, I'm not sure, a lawsuit over eminent domain,
Lawsuit over a taking.
over a taking, yeah.
Yes.
Similar to what we're currently embroiled in with over at gosh, what's that area called? Over near the light rail, which your client Jim is involved in right now with Gotham City developer, and which we're working on that in terms of being embroiled in a lawsuit around that. That being said, but while it may seem like a more elegant, and you say it's a fair exchange as far as goals, without a financial analysis, I mean, we don't know whether that what the financial benefit is to the developer at this point, by being able to move that transfer that floor area, and those opportunity to develop that 93,000 square feet, which, in all fairness, I think, is it fair to say that the land that they've now acquired just in 2020, to be clear, in 2021, that they acquired this 440 farm market, that they probably wouldn't be developing it under the current circumstances because of the eminent domain attached to it. I mean, if they had, that there was very little value in the idea of being able to acquire that property in order to develop it at the time, right? I mean, it was acquired. What I'm getting at, and I won't beat around the bush, it was acquired with the idea that I'm going to acquire it to be able to take the floor area ratio and transfer it over, right? Like, it was done literally in the year 2020. In October 2020 was the land sale was completed for lot number 5, and lot number 4 is under contract, isn't even completed at this point. So so it's not like when actually your client Fields, when there was a development in Morris Canal, when they said I forget what where the area was, but it was in the Morris Canal area, and when they were developing, they came across that below the ground or something there was sewage and pipes, and folks will remember that, and they said, oh, we can't build on this area. So then we amended the redevelopment plan, and we increased the height and the density for that, going taller and higher on that, and the council passed that. I don't remember what my vote was. I may have voted for that, frankly, because it seemed reasonable, because they had that as of right? Like initially when they thought, and then they kind of came upon this challenge with regard to their with kind of the water and sewer pipes being below them and not being able to develop on that land. And so we went, the city council voted to approve it. I don't remember what my vote was at the time, but I was not strongly opposed, I don't think, but I'm not sure exactly how I finished. I would argue that makes a lot of sense in that case. In this case, the developers literally just bought the property and literally buying the floor area to put it on top of their development over there. And so I guess I'm saying that, and then I'll just close with this. So I'm going to close with this, which is Corporation Council has opined, providing a legal memo for all of us at the City Council, saying that the inclusionary zoning ordinance does not apply here, that there's no additional units being added. So there's a transfer and an increasing, ultimately, if this is approved, there'll be a transfer and increasing of floor area. How that doesn't translate into additional units, I don't know. The rationale there and the assumption is that this is that somehow that there's almost some entitlement to it. And I would argue that there's no entitlement, that somebody actually acquired and is looking to acquire and purchase additional floor area as a result, right? They've done this literally in October of 2020. I will suggest to the city council that if you read that memo and you go back to the council caucus on January 11th, literally the legal explanation for why inclusionary zoning doesn't apply literally is like mimics exactly what Jim McCann, the developer's attorney, said, which is like we're taking our cue from that. And I think I'm going to suggest to the general public, and I say this as they watch this, that this is what you really need to know, is that this is being done and designed with the developer's needs in mind. We could be using this opportunity, even if we wanted to move forward with this, to be able to try to leverage something for the people of Jersey City, whether it was inclusionary zoning and housing, whether it was jobs, or the like. The last thing I just want to add as a question to be resolved for Wednesday is it's been brought to my attention by labor that the developer in this case has not been paying payroll taxes on contractors and so forth who may be working on development sites here in Jersey City. I would ask the administration, Melissa, to please track that down and see if these development sites for Katera and Fields Construction have been paying their payroll taxes for the year 2020 and going backwards and seeing how much they're paying on their development projects here in Jersey City. And I would urge the rest of the city council to take a good hard look at that, that we should ensure, we just literally at the last council meeting tabled an ordinance to revoke a tax abatement at the Beacon, citing a lack of wage labor compliance. We should be enforcing these rules rigorously across the board with all of these developers, and the rule here being the simple paying of payroll taxes. And in a time of pandemic, for those who are not paying their payroll taxes, they should not be afforded the.
That's a good point, Rolando.
All right, I'm done with my
Melissa,
comments.
please
Thank
follow
you.
up with that question before Wednesday to make sure they up to date, make sure they paying.
Yes,
Because
but I
that is
heard
important.
Katera, but who's the other? I heard Katera. Is that the only organization I'm looking at?
Rolando,
Yes.
okay.
Hi, it's Jim McCann. I'll answer that. So my client is
So,
Fields.
but Melissa find out and she'll send it to us. Okay, we're gonna move on now.
Okay.
Melissa, find out, send it to us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Sean.
Okay. Next would be the request for public speaking for a hearing. And we have currently 3 speakers. Moving on, any questions or comments on petitions and communications 6.1 through 6.9? Hearing none, there are no office of communications. We have our report of directors, items 8.1 through 8.5. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we have our claims that were uploaded. And then on to our resolutions, okay? Council members, I'm going to read them into the record. You just stop me. Any member of the council can stop me when they have a question or comment on a particular resolution. Okay, item 10.1, resolution 21-052 is a resolution authorizing an emergency temporary appropriation. Item 10.2, resolution 21-053, a resolution adopting the calendar year 2021 cash management plan for the city of Jersey City. Item 10.3.
I have a question on that.
Sure.
No problem. So Melissa, I had directed a question on Friday to John Metro. I don't know if I know he's out. I don't know if that got redirected to you or not, but I had asked about getting the balances for the bank depositories, the opening and closing balances annually for the past 5 years for each of the banks.
I did not get that request, but I will get it for you by Wednesday.
Great. And then just to be clear, just the opening and closing balances. I think the original request suggested deposits. That wasn't part of the original request. Wait, that's too much detail for me.
Understood.
All right.
Councilman LeVar, would you mind just forwarding your email that you sent to John to Melissa, if you don't mind, so she can have that?
Yes, I will forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just say it to the Isaac? Can you make a note of that, please, if you're watching? Thank you.
Okay. All right, item 10.3, City Resolution 21-054 is a resolution rescinding petty cash funds for various departments and divisions. Item 10.4, Resolution 21-055 is a resolution to apply for petty cash fund changes in monetary amounts for various departments and divisions. Item 10.5, Resolution 21-056 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of assessment appeals filed before the Tax Court of New Jersey on various properties. Excuse me. Item 10.6, Resolution 21-057 is a resolution to cancel tax sale certificates number 2017-1189 sold in error. Item 10.7, Resolution 21-058 is a resolution authorizing the replacement of a lost third-party tax sale certificate. Item 10.8, Resolution 21-059 is a resolution authorizing the replacement of a lost third-party tax sale certificate. Okay. We'll try to add maybe the block and lot on these so they can differentiate when searching for these resolutions as well. Item 10.9, Resolution 21-060 is a resolution recognizing the school counselors of Jersey City Public Schools. Item 10.10, Resolution 21-061 is a resolution of support for the Caucus Hudson Greenway. Item 10.11, Resolution 21-062 is a resolution introducing and approving the 2021-2022 budget of the Historic Downtown Special Improvement District, directing the city clerk to publicly advertise the budget and schedule a public hearing, and directing the tax assessor to prepare an assessment roll of properties within the district based upon the budget. Council members, we have any questions or comments on this resolution? Okay, hearing none. Moving on, item 10.12, Resolution 21-063 is a resolution recognizing Police Chief Michael Kelly on the occasion of his retirement.
Congratulations to Chief Kelly on his retirement. But actually, I just wanted to go back to 10.10 if I could for just briefly.
Sure.
Just a quick question: it references the old Booton right of way? Can someone tell me where that is? The old Booton right of way? I have no problems with this resolution. This is more for my edification.
I will provide a map of what the Essex Hudson Greenway plans are between now and the meeting on Wednesday.
Okay. The map will be fine, but I really just want to know what old Booton right of way is. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Item 10.13, Resolution 21-064 is a resolution reappointing Cynthia Jackson as a full-time judge of the Jersey City Municipal Court. Item 10.14, Resolution 21-065 is a resolution reappointing Kelly Austin as a full-time judge of the Jersey City Municipal Court. And 10.15, Resolution 21-066 is a resolution appointing Nadine Kilbrew as a part-time judge of the Jersey City Municipal Court.
Do we lose audio?
Can you not hear me? Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Councilperson Saleh, are you good?
We hear you, Sean.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilperson Saleh, you can't hear?
Hello?
We hear you.
We can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear
I'm
us.
gonna log out and log back in. I can't hear anything.
There you go. That sounds good. If you can hear that. I'll give you a thumbs up. All right. Any questions or comments on the reappointment resolutions and the appointing resolution of the full-time and part-time judge? Okay, hearing none. Item 10.16, Resolution 21-067. It's a resolution authorizing the execution of a PSE&G file release form in connection with the donation of a 1939 map to the city to the Jersey City Museum.
Sean, that's an error. It should say to the city of Jersey City.
Oh, okay. To the city of Jersey City.
Correct.
So that's.
Is anyone talking now or no?
Yes. Can you hear us, Councilperson Saleh? Councilperson Saleh, can you hear us? If you can, give me thumbs up. Oh boy. Okay. Everybody else can hear me, correct?
Correct.
All right. All right. So Melissa, I'm not sure if I seen the, was that also, okay, we'll correct the resolution too as well. Thank you for that. Okay, item 10.17, resolution 21-068. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City Office of Cultural Affairs to accept the Cooperative Marketing Program 2021 Grant Award from the New Jersey Division of Travel and Tourism. Okay, item 10.18, resolution 21-069. It's a resolution of the City of Jersey City Municipal Council accepting a gift from Uber to be used to provide free transportation to Jersey City senior citizens to and from COVID-19 vaccination sites.
Just a comment. I think this is great that Uber is making this donation. I'm curious if Via is donating any rides for similar purposes.
Stacy.
I don't,
Melissa?
I'm not in contact with Via directly, so I think Melissa or someone from the VA's office that works directly with Via, this donation came through the Jersey City Economic Development Corporation in partnership with Uber. I did, before communicating with them, went through the contract to see if there was anything that would keep us from partnering with Uber due to Via, and that's really all my role. I didn't even reach out to Via because this came in the middle of me frantically trying to find where the state delivered my vaccines. So it's been a lot of fun. But today, our first Uber rider was Robin Wright last Wednesday. She was a little scared to go by herself, and so we set her up with an Uber. We weren't really rolling out Uber until February 1st, but because the governor's office opened up the senior numbers far before we expected it, a lot of Ubers arrived today at the Bethune Center. Really excited. Joan is on site now, sending people home. It's a really great system. They've given us an Uber Health account, which is separate and distinct from those who can access Uber on their own. So there's two different Ubers. One, we make the reservations for you. So we're, have our own Uber car service for seniors and people with needs. And then if you have an Uber account, we'll give you a code for round trip to the Bethune Center, which is the one site we have open right now.
Okay. Thank you. Melissa, you have anything to add to it? Or
I had not heard about Via's inclusion in providing rides, but I can certainly investigate.
all right, thank you.
Okay, item 10.19, resolution 21-070 is a resolution ratifying the award of an emergency contract award to Kalima, New Jersey LLC for the purchase and delivery of HVAC and heat pump supplies for Jersey City basement due to COVID-19 for the Department of Public Works.
Question,
Yep.
So this is an emergency contract. It's for the basement, correct? And I assume it's for the same reason as an emergency contract for COVID, to expand space to be able to have more offices, to maintain social distancing and so forth. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, so it doesn't indicate that it's a COVID account. Are we using our own dollars in this case, or?
I can provide some additional clarification on the accounts, but I need to do a little investigation first. So I don't want to speak off the cuff on this one. I'll put it in writing for you, Councilman.
Great.
Okay. All right. Item 10.20, Resolution 21-071. It's a resolution ratifying awarding an emergency contract award to Venero Lock and Safe LLC for the purchase and delivery of door and lock hardware supplies for the City Hall basement due to COVID-19 for the Department of Public Works.
Similarly, this is also a COVID-related expense, correct? Just a question. I think the contract, if memory serves, is close to like $30,000. This is separate from our normal lock contract, which is kind of based on a consumption basis, if I understand it correctly. Is this based on a consumption basis, meaning depending on how many locks we install? But I mean, it's relegated strictly to the basement of City Hall. So I'm assuming it's for specific work on offices in the basement and so forth around that, and locks. That seems like a big number for a lot of locks for one area.
I believe it also has to do with the door handles themselves, but let's have Paul Russo provide a report on this.
Great.
Okay. Very good. Item 10.21, Resolution 21-072 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Zolan Corporation for the maintenance and repair services under state contract for the Department of Public Works Division of Automotive Maintenance.
We're going to withdraw this one, please, Sean.
Okay. Very good. We will mark that, and we'll have the agenda republished for tomorrow to reflect that we are withdrawing that. Okay, item 10.22, Resolution 21-073 is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a grant award from the Hudson County Department of Health and Human Services Area Agency on Aging. That was a tongue twister.
Yeah. This is a standard annual grant acceptance for Meals on Wheels and senior congregate meals, which we have are now delivering as Meals on Wheels, along with social recreation, which we're partnering with Act Now and other. We are going to roll out an RFQ once we pass this. To collect new facilitators as requested last year by the council to continue to diversify our facilitators for activities for seniors.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Director Flanagan. 10.23, Resolution 21-074. It's a resolution authorizing an affiliation agreement with New Jersey University and NJCU for allowing internships of nursing students enrolled in both graduate and undergraduate programs at the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services.
For several years, we've had a longstanding partnership with NJCU, first through a HRSA grant, and now trying to accommodate their nurses in their community health credit hours. So they all are required about 100 hours. And we're just trying to accommodate as many as possible. And so we're just updating this MOU.
Very good. Item 10.24, Resolution 21-075 is a resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding between the City of Jersey City, Department of Health and Human Services, and CarePoint Health to provide coordination and education around cancer screenings for Jersey City residents.
This is, I don't know if you're aware, but cancer screenings have
Okay, good evening, everyone. We are back on the record. So sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties with Microsoft Teams, but it seems like we got it back up and running. We reconnected on the website with the new link, and hopefully the members of the public are now rejoining us. We have all the council members back in attendance, and all the guest speakers who were invited to the meeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to item 10.24, resolution 21-075 is a resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding between the City of Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services and CarePoint Health to provide coordination and education around cancer screening for Jersey City residents. Director Flanagan, I believe you were speaking on this item. Thank you.
As I began to state earlier, there's been a dramatic decrease in cancer screenings due to COVID. There are many people that are still uneasy about going to their hospitals and are neglecting necessary screenings. So we are been asked by both hospitals. In fact, we just don't have any paperwork yet from JCMC to partner on Community Health and Wellness Division and their outreach around cancer screenings. So CarePoint has a mobile unit, and we're going to engage their mobile unit in this way so that we can do some necessary screenings in the community.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you, Director Flanagan. Item 10.25, Resolution 21-076, a resolution referring a proposed amendment to Chapter 345 zoning, Article 5, zoning and design standards, Section 70, off-street parking and loading and bicycle parking to the Jersey City Planning Board for review. Councilperson Baggiano, this is the resolution that I was referring to you via our email exchange with regards to your proposal ordinance that you wanted on the agenda. So the planning board has to make approval on this, and then they'll bring it to the city council once they do their review and study and recommendations, and they bring it back to us, and then we can put your ordinance on the city council meeting.
All right, Sean. I'll call you, Sean.
Very good. Any questions or comments on this resolution?
I have questions.
Sure.
So who should I direct them to? Councilman Boggiano or someone else?
I don't know if we still have Tanya back on. But Melissa can answer.
Yep, I'm here too.
Tanya's here. Very good. Thanks, Tanya. Go ahead, Councilperson LeBarro.
Councilman, as I understand it, you're legalizing certain driveways that are in conformance, I guess, with are in conformance with current standards that may not have been previously legalized, or how would you explain it? So.
Years ago, people were allowed to put in driveways, and now they're telling them after one person, after 20 years, well, you can't have the driveway. Simple as that. Tanya, you want to explain further?
Tanya's not here.
Sure she is. She's on.
Oh, she is. Okay, great.
Yeah, I made my way back.
Hi,
Can you guys hear me okay, though? I'm on a different computer. Okay. Yeah, from what I read of the resolution, it seems to be that it's asking for existing curb cuts or front yard parking, as we call it. That would be parking in front of the house if you don't have a garage, to be given an amnesty period and made legal.
Right. After 20 years, 30 years, they're telling people you can't have the driveway. They've had it for many, many years, and now you're saying, no, you can't do that. So
So
especially
you're-
around seniors.
So it's an.
So Tanya, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rolanda.
Sorry, it's an amnesty period to grandfather in, essentially?
Yeah, I assume that they can go ahead and apply to zoning and get the official right to have the driveway. Byway, they can do that now. There is a certificate of non-conforming use or situation, I guess, in this sense, not really a use, I guess, where a person who does believe that they have a legal pre-existing non-conforming garage, driveway, or curb cut can apply to Nick Taylor for determination right now. They can do that. I suppose that this would be much more broad stroke, and this would go out through the whole city and anybody who has it.
So are we saying that you can't build a new driveway between the street and the house, or we're saying that people who already have approved driveways now have to reapply?
Existing driveways.
But if you have a driveway already and you've had it for years, you're now going to have to reapply?
Tanya?
To be very honest with you, I haven't really gotten a chance to read the ordinance and the resolution. The planning board still has to study it and report back. I really only got to see it a couple days ago. I'm assuming, based on my reading, that it has just to do with existing and not new.
That's right.
So, can I just ask a question for clarification? So if you have an approved driveway, are there records of approved driveways? And then such that you can suggest, or that we could deduce existing driveways that are not approved at this point, like that they need to be grandfathered essentially, or potentially be grandfathered.
So just so we're clear, I know that everybody's thinking the same thing, but words get a little confusing. So we're not really talking about driveways, we're talking about front yard parking. And the difference is, right, is the one has a garage and the other one doesn't. And so the parking space literally would be, the only place for it would be in the front of the house through a curb cut. So the very brief history of this is that it technically really was never permitted, but you have to remember we're an old industrial city and cars were not really necessarily something we were planning for. Under the Caucus administration, there was an allowance to have front yard parking as long as you had 17 feet. And the way that these things were being approved, if you can believe it, was a very large ledger. And they would send an inspector out and the inspector would go and he would measure if you had the 17 feet and your name would be written.
Wow.
and that would be the end of it. After the year 2000, when the zoning ordinance was amended and the master plan was approved, we went back to not allowing front yard parking. So non-conforming uses is like a really technical thing, right? But the main important thing about a non-conforming use, as far as like the MLU on land use law goes, is that it has to be done at a point where it was done legally, right? It couldn't have been done something that was illegal and then it just becomes something that becomes legal because it's been there for so long. So there are a lot of driveways that have existed, do have the approvals. And most of the time it's not an issue, as in the sense that like there's not a zoning officer going around in a car checking out illegal driveways or illegal front yard parking spaces. 10 times out of 10, it's because your neighbor's complaining about you. And then you'll go ahead and you'll go through the process of actually verifying that you have a legal front yard parking space.
So if you were approved back in the day when we were walking around with this ledger, you still have to now reapprove yourself.
So the zoning officer has a practice and a policy that is a little bit different than what I explained. The zoning officer has gone ahead and issued a certificate of non-conformity as long as you can prove that you've had it legally since before 2000 and you have the 17 feet. So the policy has actually been a little bit expanded based on just what I said. So if that makes any sense. He's giving you the benefit of the doubt, essentially.
Okay.
I mean, there's really clear ways to do it. Like, Google Earth is really like has changed planning tremendously. Somebody could say that they had that driveway since before 2000. You go and you look on Google Earth and you could see that there was bushes up until 2010, and then in 2011 there was a garage. So there's it happens more frequently than you think that we approve pre-existing front yard spaces.
Could we, and I don't need this before Wednesday. I can't imagine it'd be easy to get this pulled together, but in terms of approving non-conforming uses, so forth, do we have some summary data or like how many of those are done every year or something for the past couple of years to get a sense of that? And then my second question is, if there are current individuals today who have no driveway and they and they're not permitted under our current laws to have a front yard parking or driveway, then if they try to do a curb cut and they don't have permits, are they eligible, if something like this should pass, to be able to then legalize their curb cut?
I think that that's where the area gets a little dangerous and dicey, and a little bit very cautious about how any law is approved. So you wouldn't encourage somebody from going ahead and doing something, taking advantage of the amnesty period.
And so for the purposes of this resolution and referral to planning board, your office is going to study this and then come back with a recommendation or some sort of analysis on the whole thing?
And quickly. So the law reads that council recommends it to the planning board, and the planning board has 35 days. So we actually already have it scheduled, even though we haven't written the report, for, I believe, the February 16th planning board meeting. So you should get it quickly.
Tanya, I'll speak to you tomorrow on this, Tanya, but we're talking about people that have had the driveways for years and years, and some of the driveways have been there for 40, 50 years, and years ago you didn't need permission from the city to have a driveway. Now they're saying, oh, you can't have the driveway. You can't do that to people. It's, it's wrong. And I know one woman in particular that brought this issue up, and the driveway's been there for many, many, many years, and they're telling her now she can't park in there. So I'll speak to you tomorrow and to Nick Taylor. All right, Tanya?
Yep. And Councilman Lamaro, the numbers for the issue, I'll ask Mr. Taylor tomorrow if he has those, but those would come directly from the zoning office.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, item 10.26, resolution 21-077 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the Jersey City Housing Authority, permitting the city of Jersey City to use the Jersey City Housing Authority facilities to host senior congregate meals. Item 10.27, resolution 21-078. It's a resolution amending a resolution to apply for and accept a grant award from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for lead abatement in Jersey City residencies.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. This is a standard, we run congregate meals at 2 locations, Ocean Towers and Berry Gardens. And then we expanded last year to Holland Gardens. This is an open MOU because we're hoping post-COVID to grow into also Hudson Gardens. And so the Housing Authority asked us to have an MOU on the table now so that they could do better planning for the year and provide it to their board.
Okay. Thank you. Item 10.28, resolution 21-079 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Millennium Communications Group, Inc. for surveillance camera upgrades at 6 locations throughout the city of Jersey City under the interlocal purchasing systems for the Department of Public Safety, Office of Emergency Management.
Can I ask about this?
Before that, can I, Sean, when I
Yeah.
got like kicked off after the JCHA, but you did it, I didn't describe anything about the lead grant. Can I share that? Because it's like kind of important.
Sure.
you
I didn't
skip
know you got
o-
kicked
I-
off, Director Flanagan.
Yeah, I got kicked off. So this DCA grant is it's like 200 and something $1,000. We're carving out $60,000 of it to train minority business owners that are contractors on lead certification, so we can expand the number of lead certified vendors across the county. We're working on this with JCEPT and Hudson Schools of Technology, who are the rest of county one-stop career services. So we're rolling out, and we have a flyer we'd like to share. This allows us, once we start working with clients, to provide up to $20,000 per home for lead abatement services, as long as they're using a lead abated certified contractor. We noted that 3 of our lead abated contractors that were certified retired during COVID. So we carved out some funding from this grant to do some career development and training to expand that list so that we can get more people's homes lead free. So I just wanted to share that because I do think it's important to let people know that there's now a new fund of money for lead abatement in homes. We can provide up to $20,000 to a family for their lead abatement purposes.
Thank you, Director Flanagan. So on item 10.28, I believe Councilperson LeVaro, you had a question on the Millennium Communications Group?
Just a question about, it suggests that these are upgrades. Are these new installations or upgrades? Like of existing?
I'm looking at the memo that Director Keir sent to the council, and if you didn't get that, I can re-forward that. But it looks like these are new surveillance systems based on my reading of Director Keir's memo.
Yeah, the memo suggests that the resolution describes them as upgrades. So I just want to get clarity that these are new or pre-existing sites. And
Understood. I'll verify.
Yeah, if there's a new, if they're upgrades, then my question is, how old are these systems that are being replaced, if they're being replaced, and what's prompting it to be replaced?
Okay.
Very good. All right, item 10.29, resolution 21-080 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Safeware Inc. for maintenance and repair of the Motorola radio system through the Omnia Partners Group, formerly known as U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance, for the Department of Public Safety Communications Center. Okay.
Hello, Council. Can you hear me? It's Bob Baker.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm doing great. I just want to explain a little bit about this resolution, if I can. Safeware is a government solutions co-op. They vet the vendors, and back in 2018, I came before the council with a Motorola contract for this city system in excess of $650,000, which we thought was very ludicrous. We since moved to Safeware using AES. The contract, of course, as you could see, is for, $568,181.83, saving us, a total of $81,819 a year. This is now year number 4 that I've put this before the council. And the prices, of course, have not increased. It's the same.
So This is coming from an operating account. Can capital dollars be utilized for this?
This is coming from my account number 314, which is contracts.
Yes, an operating account. So my question is, can capital dollars be used for this purpose? Maybe that's more appropriate to Melissa.
I believe the capital accounts are for items that can be used for longer than 5 years. I would defer to Bob if he believes that would be appropriate use for capital dollars.
What is the life on this?
This is a yearly maintenance agreement. There's
Maintenance agreement?
600 radios that covers.
Not new equipment of any sort.
No.
Okay.
All right, no further questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Good night.
Okay, item 10.30, Resolution 21-081 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to ActiveView Corporation for the replacement and installation of data display cubes under the GSA contract for the Department of Public Safety Division of Office of Emergency Management.
So I know that the OEM director also sent a memo on this. I did have additional questions. I mean, I can't discern from the memo or from the resolution. What is a data display cube?
Sorry, I was trying to get back in. This is for the video wall at the Office of Emergency Management, which has lots of different uses. I do think I could get Director Kears to do a write-up on the video wall if that's useful. It's I'm sure you've seen it when you walk into OEM. It's the room on the right-hand side with the sort of classroom seating around it. So it's for command center operations if needed.
Okay.
Okay.
And the funding source is a UASI grant, which is fine in and of itself, but it's a 2018 UASI grant. Can you give me the how much we have left to expend on a 2018 UASI grant at this point?
I can get that number for you.
All right.
Okay. Item 10.31, Resolution 21-082 is a resolution ratifying emergency contract award to Rapid Reliable Testing LLC to provide COVID-19 tests to Jersey City residents and municipal employees as part of the city's ongoing response to the coronavirus pandemic.
So this, over time, last year we spent several $1 million on testing. This year we don't have CARES Act funding, but we started testing with good faith to pay for staff until there was transition. So we are transitioning. So we have a contract that we'd like to keep open in case we hit a place where we need to engage with the testing company. We have been using them for testing this whole month, but we're also getting expanded resources from the state finally. So we're going to lean on free testing in addition to what we've paid for this month. So rather than putting in a claim for next week, this had been sitting around for, I guess, a few weeks to go back and forth. We would like to sign this contract. We've done the last month of testing with our RT, and we're hoping to transition to not spend any more city funds and have our RT collect insurance as the first form of collection, and then we're expanding additional sites with the state of New Jersey. So just wanted to share that with you. So while we're passing it saying it's for 6 months, this is the only month we're going to pay for it.
Okay.
I appreciate the explanation, and I have a larger question to your point about that the CARES Act funding has expired. So, because there's several resolutions on here, some of them may be in your office, but and maybe other offices as well, that emergency contracts are being utilized as the means for awarding a contract, and then but not citing kind of a CARES Act code or account code.
Yeah.
So,
So I'll share with you, the CARES Act was passed by Congress last year, enabled several things to occur. And one of those key things was free testing for all individuals. And the first line of payment is insurance companies are responsible to pay 100% of COVID testing. In addition to that, if you do not have insurance, it kicks back through a HRSA funded resource and will cover those without insurance. If you do not present your insurance, but the system knows you have it, say you didn't go today to BioReference, but BioReference has you with an insurance from years ago, they'll send you a bill saying you didn't submit your insurance to pay for your COVID test. And then people get, they're unclear and they're like, they can't afford it. But what they're asking them to do is say, you didn't submit your insurance the day of the testing. I just want to share that because it's very different than other CARES Act municipal funding.
Right.
So there's several levels of CARES Act money. So it's like affordable care. It's not just free health care. There's several tiers of this. So tier 1 of CARES Act is paying for COVID testing out of insurance and then filling in the gap where there is no insurance through HRSA. That also is the same for vaccines.
I'm sorry.
And there's municipal
Stacey,
funding.
I'm going to interrupt you if I may. I'm not trying to be rude here. I just want to direct this more to Melissa, which is about the CARES Act funding itself. Has the reimbursement period ended for CARES Act funding, the current pot of CARES Act funding, whether it be for HHS related expenses or for DPW, public safety, whatever is being purchased by various, there was a CARES Act, there was an account code, and for many of the resolutions related to COVID related expenses on this agenda, they're not being, that CARES Act funding code is not being cited. We're utilizing operating dollars as well as grant dollars of other sorts, and maybe even capital dollars in one case, I believe. So I'm just trying to get clarity of, are we still able to reimburse these, or are we waiting for the next round of funding from the feds? And if so, what's the status of that? And I guess that's the HEROES Act and things of that nature.
So your question, yes, we can reimburse. The CARES Act allows for reimbursable expenses through December 31st, 2021. However, the county is allocating our municipal allocation, and we didn't know, I also believe the county didn't know until the week of December 26th, that we would be given that extension through the end of 2021. So with that knowledge, we had already budgeted for the amount of money that we anticipated getting from the city's portion of the county allocation. However, if there are additional funds that do come to the city, they can still utilize that same 699 account. We do anticipate that there will be another round of funding coming from the federal government, but we do not have details on that at this point. I don't know if that answered all your questions, but I do have a lot of information for the CARES Act.
That gets there. So we are utilizing the 699 account, but we're not using it on certain of these expenditures right now that are on the agenda. So do we anticipate these expenditures being reimbursed? I mean, look, we're spending the money no matter what, right? But I'm not suggesting we're not. I'm just trying to figure out fiscally if who's paying for it at this point.
So as a matter of process, we asked that directors no longer use the 699 account when after 2020 ended. There are certain expenses that are large enough or part of another project that we're saying, yes, still use the 699 account. However, there are lots of other expenses that you're not seeing in the 699 account that we're instructing directors to keep separate, make a note in the requisition or in the PO that like this is a COVID account, and then our purchasing process sets them aside so that we note that when we do get another round of CARES Act funding, we're all ready to go for the reimbursables on that.
Okay, let's go.
I just want to add to that, because there's several different ways CARES Act is being given to us. So that's what I was trying to clarify. Testing is not given to us directly, that money, it's being charged. The county provides us money as a city, but the county also, like the Office on Aging, provides HHS direct funds. NJHO provides the health department direct funds out of state COVID funding, and CSBG has its own funds for CARES Act related activities. And so there's several different types of CARES Act money out there.
Okay. All right, Sean.
Okay, very good. So on to item 10.32, resolution 21-083 is a resolution ratifying the emergency contract award to Red Rabbit LLC to provide prepared meals to food insecure Jersey City residents as part of the city's ongoing response to the coronavirus pandemic.
So last year we did cover all of those funds with CARES Act county reimbursement. This year we have a grant into NJEDA. We're hoping to get $100,000 from them for our local businesses. Some of that will be carved out to Red Rabbit, and we have submitted a grant proposal to community development to cover costs of COVID-related issues that the health department is experiencing, and food insecurity is one of them. So that's part of the general request. So this would be a grant-funded account at some point, but right now we don't have those funds in hand.
Okay, let's get on with the show.
Okay. Item 10.33, resolution 21-084. It's a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Shayla Cabrera and her company Tia Planta LLC, permitting the sale of specified goods at the Jersey City's property known as 722 Montgomery Street Kiosk. I believe we have Shayla on the line if any of the council has a question for her.
Just to set this up for you, Council, as Councilman Boggiano and the Office of Innovation has collaborated on this with the McKinley Square SID to put a local entrepreneur in the kiosk at McKinley Square. And it is run by a young lady named Shayla Cabrera, who, Shayla, I think you're here, right?
Yes, I am. Hey, everybody.
If you would like to address the council, I'm sure they would be very willing to hear about your experience.
Hi, thank you all for taking the time to listen and listen to the proposition. I'm so excited to be here. We have been running a plant shop out of the kiosk, which has been closed for several years in McKinley Square, and it's been lovely. The neighborhood has been so happy to see us there, and we've had so many great customers. We're excited to see the growth. I'm excited for spring, and I'm just so happy for the opportunity to be in the location. It's bringing a lot of life to the square and just beautifying it, and it's like a perfect little greenhouse for my business. So I've been overjoyed.
Yes, and Lorena, who's head of the SID, is very happy to have you there.
She's so sweet.
Okay.
I have a question, and it's not necessarily, Shayla, congratulations. From all accounts, it's going great over there with that, with your business. So thank you for
Thank
your
you.
work there. My question is more to Melissa, because I read in the resolution, I don't want this to be suggested anything with regard to Shayla's endeavor there and so forth, but that it went out to bid twice, or RFP twice. Can you describe that RFP process? Because it suggested that, I guess the RFP process wasn't, it was non-responsive. I don't recall the exact language there, but can you speak to the RFP process, how that was conducted, where that information was sent? And I share this to say, I just know so many like businesses and nonprofits who are looking for similar situations. And I mean, I was unaware that there was an RFP put out there for this kiosk opportunity. And so I'm curious what the process was that entailed there.
Sure. So we worked with the purchasing department. It was a standard public contract on the city's website. It says public contracts. There's that box on the right-hand side. Normal RFP, advertised it, discussed it with some local businesses. I think a barrier, the RFP was out twice, and we did not get any responses, formal responses. In fact, Councilman, to your point about some other businesses who may have been interested, we actually still do have one additional site, which we haven't been able to find a vendor for, and we can talk more about that. I'll send an email out to the council if that's helpful. But this process, one of the barriers to entry on this one is that the site that Shayla is operating in does not have running water. So am I muted?
No, we hear you.
Okay, I don't know why it says that. Okay, so the site doesn't have running water, and also Shayla's providing her own heat source. So I think where Shayla really is an extraordinary entrepreneur is that those barriers, even though she is running a plant shop, were not barriers to her, and she was able to find solutions on her own without intervention from the city. But I can send you some other opportunities that we do have for entrepreneurs who are looking for spaces.
Send it out to all the council, okay, Melissa?
Certainly.
Okay, because you said the first process you didn't get that many responses, and so you sent out the bid again, correct?
Correct.
See, if you send it to the council, maybe we can help you in fulfilling some of them spots. Because we deal with quite a few people.
Right.
So the past RFPs got no response, or they got some response? Let me just.
They had questions, but they did not have formal responses, which is what the purchasing department requires. We did follow up with some of the businesses who did, look at it or open the proposal. But when we followed up with them, we found that the barriers had to do with the water and the heat source.
Okay.
So I'd be interested in looking at the two past RFPs that were issued, if we can I can get a copy of that, as well as who may have made inquiries with regard to that, and whatever kind of information they may have asked in terms of inquiries, so I can get a better sense of like what some of the past entrepreneurs were looking at, and as you suggested, maybe the barriers were some of the physical site challenges and so forth around that. So if I can get a better understanding of that, I'd appreciate it.
Shayla, you're doing a great job, Shayla.
Thank you so much.
You're doing a great job. I really do appreciate you taking that area up, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. I love it. We've been having a great time up there. The community has been amazing. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean.
Thank you, Shayla. Very good.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Item 10.34, Resolution 20-085 is a resolution ratifying and awarding an emergency contract to Richard Sheet Metal, Inc. for the various fabrication and installation of sheet metal ductwork for the City Hall basement for the Department of Administration, Division of Engineering.
I'll just say again, this is some of that COVID dollars as well, and for the same purposes. And so I guess given the kind of the explanations, and I'll talk some more with Melissa about this, but I have concerns about how we're ultimately going to pay for all of this if it's not being covered through the COVID related plus reimbursements.
Item 10.35, Resolution 21-086 is a resolution authorizing cooperation agreement with the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency to improve Berry Lane Park, implementing the Morris Canal redevelopment plan.
This agreement initially expired in 2020, in mid 2020. I'm going to just make a comment for the record, which is I think this probably explains a lot as to what happened with the steel technology site in terms of folks losing track of what was, it was last renewed in 18, which is about the time at which the individual Ben Delisle at JCRA was overseeing the Berry Lane projects and left the agency at that point. And I think that probably explained a lot with regard to the steel technology site and kind of where the ball got dropped there, to say the least, around that. And that ultimately got this contract has been there's been, it seems to me, no agreement in place with the agency and the city in continuing the oversight and maintenance of Berry Lane Park from a big picture perspective as well. And so I think it's just a shame that kind of a certain amount of negligence is, it's clear that there's a certain amount of negligence as a result of kind of this contract not being renewed for at least half a year.
Okay, Sean.
Okay. Item 10.36, Resolution 21-087 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the renewal of a professional service agreement with Life Mode LLC. Item 10.37, Resolution 21-088 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of the action entitled Janet Laura versus the City of Jersey City. Item 10.38, Resolution 21-089 is a resolution awarding professional service agreement to Netcha Deneen Hillman to provide defense counsel services related to the workers' compensation claim petitions filed against the City of Jersey City. Item 10.39, Resolution 21-090 is a resolution awarding professional services agreement to Litnier, Tort, DeFazio, and Browse to provide defense counsel services related to workers' compensation claims petitions filed against the City of Jersey City. Item 10.40, Resolution 21-091 is a resolution awarding the professional services agreement to Chasen, Lamparello, Mallon, and Capuzzo to provide defense counsel services related to workers' compensation claim petitions filed against the City of Jersey City. And item 10.41, Resolution 21-092 is a resolution authorizing a professional services agreement to Biancamano, and DeStefano to provide defense counsel services related to workers' compensation claim petitions filed against the City of Jersey City. Council members, go ahead.
Just for the record, I did direct Melissa, and I'll forward, as I said earlier, the questions I posed about these worker compensation contracts. I'll send that over to you along with questions related to a number of contracts, and mostly just asking for the budget, as well as the amount spent in previous years, and with regard to all these worker compensation contracts as well. The other thing I just want to note for many of the contracts that I noted, and I'll email you again. I sent this information to John Metro back on Friday, but I'll forward them over to you. I'll also note that there were a number of contracts that the effective start date was January 1st. Mm-hmm. That was something that, again, going back to the business administrator, Bob Kekaleski, that the city had worked on and the administration had worked on to ensure that we got timely contracts, because we're essentially approving contracts after the fact. And it kind of makes it kind of moot for the city council to be approving contracts if the contracts are essentially in place, and doesn't give us the opportunity to appropriately vet them and perhaps even look to see if there are other vendors possibly that could be considered for certain awards. And I'll yield my time.
Councilman Lavaro, I was able to get the answer to the last 4 resolutions. Talita had sent me an email earlier today, and I did respond with the request that you made, but I don't believe I CC'd you. I believe I sent it directly to Talita.
Okay, thanks. I'll look at that.
Okay, council members, not on your, was added to your agenda. These are 2 late items that will need to have a motion to add on to the council meeting. First one is item 10.42, resolution 21-093. It's a resolution in support of solar landscape community solar project at 69 Mallory Avenue in Jersey City.
Is there someone here to speak on that?
I believe we do have our guest speaker. I think we have Betsy McBride is on the line. Betsy, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Betsy McBride from Solar Landscape. My home address is 6357 Harvey Avenue in Pennsauken. I met with Councilwoman Prince-Array and also Councilman Lavaro about this project. It is an opportunity for Jersey City to take part in a statewide program where community solar panels are put on the rooftop of a storage facility at 69 Mallory. 51% of the energy produced needs to be to power low and moderate income family homes, and everybody who participates gets 20% savings. It's a change from the way solar has operated in the past. It's not an energy aggregation. There are no fees to enroll, no long-term contracts. It is the state's vision for using underutilized rooftop space to power our resident homes. In fact, it's about environmental justice. Solar industry where people who can't afford to put panels on their rooftops can participate. That's it in a nutshell, but it also has a job training component that I'm thrilled that if we get the project in Jersey City, we'll be able to bring you more information about retraining people who might need to look at a different type of job and get into a growth industry, or to work with our young adults who are in high school, community colleges, or universities even, as this is an opportunity to take a look at an industry that is growing and will be stronger as we go along. I am available for questions, and Councilwoman Prince-Array, it's in her district, her ward, excuse me, so she has information. If you want anything directly, you can ask her and I can get it to her. I appreciate the opportunity to speak briefly to you.
May I ask a question? Hi, Betsy.
Hi.
That's Councilman Lavaro, Rolando Lavaro. Thank you for sharing this information and reaching out to the city council on this matter. I just wanted to ask you. I did have a question after we had met, and so for people who may already have solar panels on their homes, and full transparency, I'm actually looking into it. I don't want to say that it's a result of the conversation we had, but I've definitely, it's been on my radar, and I don't think I disclosed that to you when I spoke to you. But would those folks also be eligible still for the 20% reductions in their utility bills or electricity bills as a result of their participation?
So if you have panels on your own rooftop, there are 2 mechanisms for that. One would be that you own the panels and you take advantage of the tax incentives that are out there that are very strong for you as an individual. Otherwise, if you don't want to be responsible for maintaining the panels, you would engage with a company who would maintain the panels, and they would give you a reduced rate individually on your power to your home, and they would maintain your panels. So no, you would not be participating in this same program.
In either situation, whether you own or lease the panels.
Correct.
Not
You
okay.
may, I don't know, but somebody else in my company may, whether you may actually get more savings in your, if you're doing it yourself. The idea is that everybody can participate in this without the investment of the panels or in, having panels on their roof. Sometimes people don't even have the right type of roof, or it's not facing the right direction. So they can't take advantage of that opportunity.
And is there a cap to participation based on to the number of people who can participate within Jersey
From
City?
this particular project, it's for 90 homes. It's a small project. There will be more in the future. This is the second year of a 3-year pilot. But that is, once those 90 subscriptions are obtained, which we do ourselves as well, no burden on the part of the city, that's when it would be turned on, and those would be the subscribers for that particular project. So that is the limitation on that program, the number of houses it can power.
And Council President, if I may, one final question. So 90 homes participating, so is it exclusively for homeowners, or are renters also able to participate in the program?
Renters are permitted.
Great.
If you have a utility bill, you can participate.
All right.
Let's move on.
Thank you,
Thank
Betsy.
you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Betsy.
Alrighty, the last item 10.43, Resolution 21-094, is a resolution approving the appointment of members of the Diversity Inclusion Advisory Board. And those last two items are late items, and I will need a motion during the council meeting to add them, and we'll be able to vote on them after we make that motion. Any questions or comments? I have nothing else.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, so I have a motion to adjourn by Councilperson Rivera, 15 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Prinzary. All in favor of the motion to adjourn at 6:15 p.m. All council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
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 Okay, we are out of here at 6:15 p.m. Thank you so much, Council President, members of the Municipal Council, members of the public, and of course, my team behind the scenes. I apologize for that hiccup that we had, but with a great team behind me, we were able to get this back up and running seamlessly, basically. So kudos to Bernadette, Amanda, and the team behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And remember, when we're out and about, please mask up because we're still fighting this virus. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Stay safe.
Thank you.